by studying human nature. I came across a quite terrifying effect which has a strong grip on pretty much every single one of us. It's largely kind of scary and negative, but it does have some positive upsides, I think. And so before I tell you what it is, just quickly subscribe to this YouTube channel and also check out my Instagram. The link for that is in the description below. Now, what actually is terrifying? You have to understand first that about 95% of your day you spend kind of on autopilot. What I mean by this is that there's two types of thinking. Type 1 thinking and type 2 thinking. Type 1 thinking is fast, it's intuitive, and it's also largely subconscious. Type 2 thinking, on the other hand, is rather slow, it's conscious, and also more rational. Now again, most of the day, about 95% of our time, we spend in type 1 thinking, which obviously makes sense. I mean, you can't go through your day just the entire time truly thinking rationally about everything. You have to be quick in most of your decisions. And again, I want to stress that type 1 thinking is largely controlled by habits, quick assessments, and also quite a lot of emotion. I mean, this itself is already pretty scary. However, it gets kind of worse, because this was just the basis for what I'm about to tell you now. The problem is that there are truly insanely deep patterns from way back from your earliest days. We're talking 1 or 2 or 3 years old, potentially even later, right? I mean, you still evolve until you're 18, just heavily, literally huge changes. But yeah, some of those things are as early as 2 years old. And so those patterns are pretty fucking deep. And they can have a effect on a variety of things. And because their origins are partly when you were 2 years old or something, you possibly can't even remember some of those events or whatever it was that shape you this heavily. This almost kind of means that you're essentially powerless, because you can't even remember the issues or the things that happened potentially. Plus also the chances are high that you're so used to that pattern that you don't even recognize that you're in that way pretty different to everybody else, or to at least some people in a quite heavy way, right? One way a friend of mine found out about such a thing was he kind of realized that in a certain way he was pretty different to others around him, and this kind of led him down this path. And I think that's one way of tackling such issues or this pattern and truly understanding yourself better, because I don't even know that if you understood the pattern you can necessarily get rid of it, because it's, as I said, pretty fucking deep in yourself, whatever you want to call it. Now this truly is scary, because it means that you're guided by an invisible hand, which you can't necessarily even make out what that hand is, or you possibly can't even destroy. So that's actually pretty scary if you ask me. The upside of this, however, is that you can possibly empathize better with other people, and you can also, for example, start taking attacks on you less personal. What I mean by this is that, let's say for example a person screams at you, is really mad or really upset about you, then the chances are pretty high that they're just coping with something from their earliest days, and they kind of project it onto you, or kind of yeah, as I said, deal with this issue right now, or something just triggered them. You did something, it triggered them, and then this reaction kind of just evolved. And I mean, this in no way makes it better that you're getting screamed at, or it doesn't make it acceptable. You should definitely defend yourself kind of, or do something against it. But yeah, I mean, there's two things. You can at least kind of understand that the other person is kind of this way, and therefore empathize more. But I think the way more obvious and better use of this is that you can start taking attacks on yourself less personal, and just truly understand that most of the time those people don't necessarily attack you, they attack something, whatever that something is, or they just try to deal or cope with something, again, whatever that something is. Now if you want to see more actually good content, which is about just useful information about life, I guess, then you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and also check out some other videos on my channel. I linked in the description down below a video on emotional dependency if you're interested in that. It's also psychological. But yeah, I also linked my Instagram down below if you want to follow me there. And yeah, with all of that being said, keep going, man, and have a great day. Let's go.